A little hungry girl was keeping two newborn twins warm on a frozen road. But when a young billionaire stops his car to help, he's shocked to discover who the children are. The biting wind lashed against Emily's small face as she bent over the two bundles in her arms, her thin 5-year-old body serving as the only barrier against the relentless snowstorm. Her fingers, already purple from the cold, obsessively adjusted the thin blankets around the newborn twins who slept, unaware of the danger around them. "Shh, it's going to be okay," she whispered, more to herself than to the babies, her voice trembling as much as her body. "Emily's here. Emily won't let anything bad happen to you." The road stretching out ahead of her seemed endless, disappearing into the white curtain of snow that fell without mercy. Behind her, miles away, stood St. Catherine's orphanage, where only a few hours earlier she had made the bravest and most desperate decision of her short life. 4 hours earlier, the soft crying of one of the twins echoed down the dark hallway of the orphanage. Emily, who couldn't sleep, watched from the shared bedroom window as the snow began to fall. Her heart raced when she heard Mrs. Peterson's harsh voice in the hallway. "Early tomorrow morning they'll be sent to different homes. Here it's all arranged." The girl felt as if she'd been punched in the stomach. Separate the twins, her little brothers that she had promised to protect. Her mother's words, from the last time she saw her, echoed in her mind. "Take care of them, Emily. You need to stay together no matter what." With a determination that seemed far too big for her small frame, Emily waited until silence took over the orphanage. Barefoot, she moved like a ghost through corridors she knew so well, arriving at the nursery where the twins slept. Carefully, she wrapped them in the thickest blankets she could find and, carrying one in each arm, headed to the back door, the one the cooks always forgot to lock. "Present." Emily staggered, her knees giving out for a moment before she regained her balance. How long had it been since she'd eaten? The piece of bread she had slipped into the pocket of her old coat before running away had run out hours ago. One of the twins, Lucas, she thought, though it was hard to be sure, began to whimper. The sound made her heart clench. They needed milk, warmth, a safe place. But where to go? Where to run when the whole world seemed cold and hostile? Darkness was beginning to creep in, turning the white landscape into threatening shadows. Emily knew the night was her biggest enemy. In the dark, the cold became crueler, and the sounds seemed to carry every fear she was trying so bravely to push away. "Mommy," she murmured, a tear freezing on her cheek. "Help me protect them. I promised I'd take care of them, but I'm so scared." A distant howl made her blood run cold. Wolves? No, probably dogs. But that meant someone from the orphanage might be looking for them. Gathering the last of her strength, Emily dragged herself off the road, finding precarious shelter under a tree with low-hanging branches. There, trying to use her own body as a shield from the wind, she began to softly sing the same lullaby her mother used to sing to her. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." Her voice was just a trembling whisper in the approaching night, but it was all she could offer her brothers besides her desperate love and unshakable determination to keep them together. As the shadows lengthened and the cold bit at her bones, Emily kept her lonely vigil, a tiny 5-year-old guardian facing a world too big, too cold, but refusing to give up. The distant sound of an engine cut through the silence of the coming night. Emily pulled herself closer to the tree, hugging the twins tightly. Was it help or danger coming down the frozen road? Her small heart pounded like a drum as she waited, trapped between fear and a faint hope. The Tesla Model S engine hummed quietly as Michael Chen drove down the deserted road, snowflakes dancing hypnotically in the beams of the headlights. The GPS had suggested this route as a shortcut back to New York after his last business meeting in Boston. But now, with the snowstorm growing stronger, he was beginning to question the wisdom of that choice. The luxurious interior of the car was silent, except for the soft jazz playing on the top-of-the-line sound system. It was the kind of moment that usually allowed Michael to organize his thoughts after a long day of negotiations. But tonight, his mind was restless, wandering to places he generally avoided. At 32, Michael was the kind of person the media loved to turn into a headline. The tech prodigy, Silicon Valley's youngest billionaire, from foster child to CEO, titles he had learned to ignore, even though each carried a fragment of truth that sometimes kept him awake at night. His last meeting had been particularly tough. The acquisition of a promising artificial intelligence startup was almost guaranteed when one of the investors raised the question of his age. "Aren't you too young to lead a merger of this scale?" The question, though politely phrased, carried the same bias he'd faced since founding his first company at 23. Michael adjusted the car's heater, his fingers tapping on the leather steering wheel, as an involuntary memory took him back 25 years. He was 7, sitting in a cold waiting room at social services, his legs swinging because they didn't reach the floor. The smell of cheap disinfectant was still vivid in his memory, just like the sound of a broken fan rattling in the corner of the room. "You're lucky, Michael," the social worker had said, adjusting her thick-framed glasses while organizing a stack of papers. "The Chens want to give you a permanent home. Lucky." That's how everyone described it. But he could never stop thinking about the family he never knew. The Chens were wonderful, of course. David Chen, a university math professor, and Linda Chen, a pediatrician, gave him so much more than a roof and food. They gave him love, education, and opportunities. They were the ones who noticed his knack for numbers and technology, encouraged him to explore his potential, and celebrated each achievement as if it were their own. But still, even with all the love and success, there were moments like this one, alone on a snowy road when the questions came back. Who were his biological parents? Did he have siblings somewhere? Why was he abandoned? A sudden movement on the side of the road pulled Michael out of his memories. At first, it seemed like an illusion created by the ever-stronger snowfall, but his eyes, trained for detail, the same that helped him build a tech empire, weren't deceived. There was something or someone there. He slowed down, the snow tires gliding smoothly over the icy asphalt. What he saw made his heart stop for a moment. A small child, hunched over as if carrying something precious, practically buried in the quickly accumulating snow. "Oh my God," Michael murmured, stopping the car immediately, the hazard lights flashing against the white landscape. The biting wind hit him as soon as he opened the door, reminding him that he was wearing only his $3,000 custom-made Armani suit from Manhattan. It didn't matter. His steps were quick and determined as he approached the tiny figure, the snow crunching under his Italian shoes that were definitely not made for this situation. "Hey, are you okay?" he called out, trying to soften his voice so as not to scare the child. Years of commanding conference rooms had taught him the power of tone, but right now he was seeking gentleness, not authority. The girl lifted her face, and Michael felt as though he'd been punched in the stomach. Wide, frightened eyes stared at him, her small face red from the cold, lips almost blue and trembling uncontrollably. But what truly shocked him were the 2 bundles she was protectively holding against her chest. "Please," she whispered, her voice as fragile as a snowflake, "don't separate us." Michael knelt in the snow, ignoring the cold that seeped through his expensive pants and the wind that whipped his usually perfectly styled hair. Now he could see clearly. She was holding babies, newborns out from their size, wrapped in blankets that seemed far too thin for the current temperature. "No one's going to separate you," he answered automatically, taking off his cashmere coat and wrapping it around the girl and the babies. "I promise." The promise slipped from his lips before he could think, driven by something beyond reason, maybe by the look in the girl's eyes, which held the same fear and determination he had often seen in his own reflection during childhood. It was the look of someone who had already experienced too many losses at a young age. "What's your name?" he asked softly, while checking the baby's vital signs with the basic knowledge he had picked up from countless visits to the hospital where his adoptive mother worked. To his relief, they seemed okay, protected by the warmth of their sister's body. "Emily," she answered, her teeth chattering from the cold, "and these are my little brothers." "Emily," Michael repeated, trying to convey all the calm and safety he could in his voice. "I'm Michael. You're freezing, and these babies need warmth. My car is right there. It has heating and—" He saw fear flash in her eyes, the natural distrust of a child who had learned the hard way not to trust strangers. It was a look he knew well, the one he'd seen in the mirror every morning during his first months with the Chens. "There's food too," he quickly added, remembering the dinner he had cancelled. gourmet sandwiches and a thermos of hot chocolate that his personal chef had prepared for his late work night. Sandwiches. Hot chocolate. The mention of food made Emily's stomach growl loudly, but she still hesitated, her arms tightening around the babies. You won't call the orphanage? The word orphanage hit Michael like a bolt of lightning, sparking memories he kept carefully tucked away in a corner of his mind. The smell of disinfectant, the sound of children crying at night, the constant fear of being sent back or worse, separated from the few friends he managed to make. How many times had he felt that same fear? "I won't do anything you don't want," he replied, surprised by his own sincerity. In his corporate world, every word was calculated, every promise carefully weighed in terms of risks and benefits. But here, in the snow, facing this determined child, all his usual defenses seemed irrelevant. "But first we need to get you out of this cold. We can talk in the car, okay?" Emily studied his face for a few more seconds before nodding slightly. Michael resisted the urge to pick her up. Something told him she needed to maintain control of the situation, to keep her brothers in her own arms. Instead, he rose slowly and walked beside her to the car, ready to support her if her legs gave out. The heated interior of the Tesla was like an oasis in this frozen desert. Michael turned the heat up to max and, moving slowly so as not to scare Emily, reached for the compartment where he kept the sandwiches. The aroma of fresh bread and smoked turkey filled the car, and he saw Emily's eyes go wide. "Can you hold both while you eat?" he asked gently, noticing how her arms trembled. Emily nodded, but it was obvious that her small arms were exhausted from carrying the twins for so long. Michael realized he needed to earn her trust little by little. "Can I hold one of them while you eat?" "I promise I won't hurt him." Her hesitation was palpable, her eyes shifting between the sandwich and the babies. Finally, hunger and exhaustion won out. With infinite care, she let Michael take one of the babies. The moment the tiny bundle was placed in his arms felt surreal. Michael, used to handling cutting-edge technology and closing multi-million-dollar deals, was now holding something infinitely more precious and delicate. The baby stirred slightly in his sleep, and a strange sense of protectiveness overcame him. "They're twins," Emily said between bites of the sandwich, her eyes never leaving the baby in Michael's arms. "They were born 2 weeks ago." "And you were at the orphanage?" Michael asked softly, adjusting the blanket around the baby. Emily swallowed hard, tears forming in her eyes. "They were going to separate us tomorrow. I heard Mrs. Peterson talking. They were sending them to different homes." Her voice shook and she stopped eating for a moment. "I promised my mommy I'd take care of them. Promised I wouldn't let anyone separate us." Michael felt something break inside him. In his work, he was known for his ability to remain calm in any situation, to analyze complex problems with clarity and find innovative solutions. But faced with this child's heavy promise, he felt simultaneously powerless and determined to help. "Emily," he began, choosing his words carefully, "you and the babies need medical care. They need to be examined, and so do you." Panic immediately returned to her eyes. "No, they'll call the orphanage." "There's a very nice hotel a few miles from here," Michael said, an idea taking shape in his mind. The Grand Alpine Resort was a discreet place he often used for confidential meetings. "I know the owner. We can go there, call a discreet doctor to examine you, and then decide what to do. No orphanage, no separation, just to make sure you're okay. All right?" Emily bit her lip, looking from the baby in her arms to the one Michael was holding. Exhaustion was clearly winning out, but there was still fear in her eyes. "Do you promise you won't separate us?" Michael met her gaze, remembering all the promises adults had made to him as a child. Some were kept, others broken, but something about this girl, about this situation, made him want to be different. "I promise, Emily. And I always keep my promises." As he drove carefully through the snowy night toward the hotel, Michael alternated his attention between the road and the rear-view mirror, where he could see Emily finally giving in to fatigue, her eyes struggling to stay open, while still protectively holding one of the twins. His phone kept vibrating in the console, dozens of unread notifications, meeting reminders, pending decisions that needed his attention. Sarah, his executive assistant, was probably having a panic attack over his sudden digital disappearance. Michael Chen, the CEO, should have been focused on his tech empire, on his corporate responsibilities. But in that moment, driving through the night with 3 children in his care, he was just Michael, the boy who once also needed someone to keep their promises. And as the snowflakes continued to fall outside, he made another silent promise. He would do everything in his power to keep these 3 children together and safe. With one hand on the wheel, he grabbed his phone and quickly sent a message to Dr. James Morrison, an old friend of his adoptive mother, who now worked as a private doctor for clients who valued discretion. "I need you at the Grand Alpine Resort in 1 hour. Medical emergency. Maximum discretion required." The reply came almost immediately. "On my way." Next, he typed another message, this time to Robert Kane, the hotel manager. "Prepare the presidential suite immediately. Need absolute privacy. 3 special guests, a child and 2 babies. Children's clothes, diapers, baby formula. Everything top quality. Urgent. It will be arranged immediately, Mr. Chen." Michael looked again in the rearview mirror. Emily had finally fallen asleep, her small hand still clutching the blanket that covered her brother. On the seat beside him, the other twin also slept peacefully in the makeshift cradle of his arms. The snow continued to fall outside, but the car's interior was warm and safe. Michael thought of all the big decisions he'd made in his life, dropping out of college to start his first company, risking everything on a new technology when everyone said it was crazy, making billion-dollar acquisitions that transformed the market. But none seemed as significant as the decision he was making now. The lights of the Grand Alpine Resort began to shine in the distance, like a beacon in the darkness of the night. Michael could already envision the next steps, Dr. Morrison discreetly examining the children, rooms prepared with every comfort possible, new warm clothes, proper food for everyone. But beyond that, for the first time in years, Michael Chen, the man who planned every move with calculated precision, was improvising. And as he steered the car into the hotel entrance, where Robert Kane waited with his most discreet and trusted staff, Michael realized he didn't mind the uncertainty of the future. Those 3 children needed him now, and he would be there for them no matter what it meant. "Welcome to the Grand Alpine," he whispered to his 3 sleeping travel companions, a soft smile on his lips as he parked. "I think our lives are about to change forever." The morning sun filtered through the silk curtains of the Grand Alpine Resort's presidential suite, casting golden patterns on the luxurious carpet. Emily, sitting in a chair too big for her size, watched in wonder as the twins slept peacefully in 2 cribs that had been brought in during the night. After the medical exam the night before, when Dr. Morrison assured them that everyone was fine, just in need of rest and good nutrition, Emily finally allowed herself to relax a bit. The warm bath, the new soft clothes, and the most comfortable bed she had ever experienced made it feel like she had stepped into a fairy tale. Michael, who had slept in a connecting suite, entered the room quietly, carrying a breakfast tray. The smell of pancakes, eggs, and hot chocolate made Emily's stomach rumble. "Good morning," he smiled, placing the tray on a nearby table. "Did you sleep well?" Emily nodded, still a bit shy but no longer showing the fear she had the night before. "The babies slept all night," she reported proudly. "They only woke up to eat." Michael sat in a chair across from her, watching as the girl devoured the pancakes with appetite. It was hard to believe that less than 24 hours ago, he had found her nearly frozen by the side of the road. "Emily," he began softly, "do you feel ready to tell me more about how you ended up on that road?" The girl put down her fork, her eyes instantly growing more serious. It was impressive how a 5-year-old could appear so grown up at times. "We were at St. Catherine's orphanage," she started, her small voice steady. "Mommy left us there a month ago. She cried a lot, said it was for our own good, that she would come back when she could." Emily paused, playing with a piece of pancake on her plate. Michael waited patiently, knowing some stories need their own time to be told. "Last night, I heard Mrs. Peterson on the phone. She was saying she found different families for the twins, that they would pick them up this morning." Tears began forming in her eyes again. "I couldn't let that happen, Mr. Michael. Mommy made me promise to keep us together, no matter what. Michael leaned forward, offering a napkin for Emily to dry her tears. You were very brave, Emily. And very smart, too. How did you manage to leave with the babies? A small, proud smile appeared on her face. I always paid attention to everything. I knew the kitchen door stayed unlocked because Mrs. Mary, the cook, went outside to smoke at night. I waited for everyone to sleep and, while Emily continued her story, Michael discreetly turned on the recorder on his phone. Every detail might be important later. Across town, in a sleek office high in a skyscraper, Sarah Martinez finished listening to Michael's instructions over the phone. I want everything, Sarah. Orphanage records, the kid's history, information about the mother, anything you can find. I needed it yesterday. Sarah smiled, already typing on her computer. It wasn't the first time her boss had asked for the impossible, but it was the first time she heard him so emotionally invested in something. I've already started, Mr. Chen. I have some contacts at social services who can help. Having the orphanage name helps a lot. I'll focus first on the intake records from the last 2 months. Excellent. And Sarah? Maximum discretion. No one can know we're investigating this. As always, sir. Back at the hotel, Michael watched Emily playing with the twins. She had improvised a little puppet show with some teddy bears provided by the hotel staff, narrating an elaborate story for the babies who, although too young to understand, seemed mesmerized by her voice. And then the older teddy bear promised Daddy Bear he would take care of his little bear siblings forever and ever, she narrated, changing her voice for different characters. Michael felt a pang in his chest. How could such a young child carry so much responsibility? His phone vibrated. A message from Sarah. Initial results coming in, found the intake records. Emily Watson, age 5, and twins Lucas and Liam Watson, admitted 32 days ago. Mother, Jessica Watson, 28 years old. Father, not listed. Michael read the message several times. They finally had a name, Jessica Watson. But where was she? Why had she left the children? Sarah soon sent another message. Something's off here, Mr. Chen. Standard procedures weren't followed. Usually, babies so young wouldn't be accepted without full documentation, and there are inconsistencies in the social worker visit logs. Keep digging, he replied. I want to know everything about that orphanage. A soft cry interrupted his thoughts. One of the twins had woken up. Before Michael could move, Emily was already there, picking the baby up with a surprising gentleness for someone so small. This is Lucas, she said confidently. Michael still couldn't tell the twins apart, but Emily never got confused. He always wakes up first. Liam sleeps more. How do you know so much about them, Emily? Her face grew serious again. Mommy taught me everything before she left. She showed me how to hold them right, how to know when they're hungry or sleepy. Emily trailed off, her gaze growing distant. Michael recognized that expression. It was the same one he had when thinking about his own hazy past. Do you want to tell me about your mom? He asked gently. Emily shifted Lucas in her arms before answering. She's pretty. She has hair like mine, only longer, and she sang to us every night. Her voice faltered a bit. She was always sad, but she tried to smile for me. She only cried after she thought I was asleep. Michael felt his heart clench. There was more to this story than a mother simply abandoning her children. His phone vibrated again. More messages from Sarah. Found police records. Jessica Watson filed several domestic violence reports over the years, all withdrawn afterward. Husband? Still searching. The records are deliberately incomplete. Someone tried to erase info. But I'm following a lead. Michael looked at Emilia, who was now softly humming the same lullaby he heard her sing on the road, probably learned from her mother. Emily, he called gently. Do you remember the last day you saw your mom? The girl continued to rock Lucas for a moment before replying, It was raining. Mommy was different, more scared than usual. She packed our things in a backpack, kissed me, and said it was just for a little while, that she'd be back soon. Flashback, 32 days ago, rain pounded against the windows of the small apartment. Emily was sitting on her bed, watching her mother frantically pack some clothes into an old backpack. Sweetie, I need you to be very brave right now, Jessica said, her hands trembling as she folded a small pajama. You're going to stay in a safe place for a little while, just until Mommy settles some things. But I want to stay with you, Mommy, Emily whimpered, hugging her favorite teddy bear. Jessica stopped what she was doing and knelt in front of her daughter. Her eyes were red, but she tried to smile. Emily, my love, you're the big sister now. I need you to promise me something very important. Emily nodded solemnly, sensing this was a special moment. Promise you'll take care of your little brothers, that you won't let anyone separate you no matter what happens. I promise, Mommy. Jessica hugged her daughter tightly, and Emily felt tears soaking her hair. You're so strong, my little one. So strong and so brave. Present. And then she took us to the orphanage. Emily finished her story, now with Lucas sleeping peacefully in her arms. She kissed each of us and left in the rain. Michael processed every word, every detail. His phone vibrated once more. Urgent. Found a pattern of bribes at the orphanage. Someone was paying to have certain children sent to specific addresses. The twins were on the list for tomorrow. Michael felt a chill. What exactly had they interrupted by rescuing these kids from the road? Mr. Michael, Emily's voice brought him back to the present. Do you think Mommy will come back? He looked at this small girl, so strong and so fragile at the same time, and promised himself he would find the truth no matter the cost. Emily, I'll tell you a secret, he said, moving to sit beside her. When I was little, about your age, I was alone for a while too, but I found people who took care of me, who loved me and protected me. Emily looked at him with wide eyes. Like you're doing for us. Exactly, he smiled, feeling an unexpected lump in his throat. And I promise I'll do everything I can to help you and your brothers. We'll find where your mom is and figure out why she had to leave. Pinky promise? Emily held up her free pinky. Michael linked his finger with hers, feeling the weight of this simple but profound promise. Pinky promise. At that moment, Liam began to cry in the other crib, as if he didn't want to be left out of the special moment. Emily laughed, a pure, crystalline sound that filled the room with joy. See? I told you Liam slept more. Michael stood up to pick up Liam, surprised at how natural it already felt to care for these babies. His phone vibrated again, but he decided it could wait. Now was the time to be present, to simply be family. Across town, Sarah Martinez continued her tireless investigation, her fingers flying over the keyboard as connections formed. Somewhere, Jessica Watson was hiding, trying to protect her children from a danger only she fully understood. And Michael Chen, the billionaire who built an empire on technology and innovation, discovered that his greatest challenge, and perhaps his greatest reward, would be helping rebuild a broken family, beginning with a pinky promise made to a brave little girl on a sunny morning at the Grand Alpine Resort. The glow of a computer monitor was the only light in Michael Chen's office when Sarah Martinez walked in, carrying a thick folder of documents. It was almost midnight, but the past 72 hours had effectively erased any normal sense of work schedule. Ever since Michael had rescued the children from that frozen road, every minute was precious in the race to understand and protect this family that had unexpectedly entered his life. The police reports came in, Sarah announced, her usually steady voice betraying a slight tremor. In 15 years working as a private investigator, few cases had affected her as much as this one. Michael raised his eyes from the screen where he was analyzing the financial records of St. Catherine's orphanage. The dark circles under his eyes revealed sleepless nights, divided between comforting Emily during her nightmares and coordinating an increasingly complex investigation. What did you find out? He asked, though something in his expression suggested he was bracing for bad news. Sarah hesitated for a moment before opening the folder on the table. Photographs, police reports, and hospital documents spilled out like pieces of a disturbing puzzle. The images made his stomach turn. Jessica Watson appeared in several pictures with bruises, cuts, and other signs of systematic violence. Between January 2019 and December 2023, there were 17 official cases of domestic violence, Sarah began, her voice taking on a professional tone that only barely concealed her outrage, all involving Robert Kane, Jessica's husband. And absolutely all were later withdrawn. Michael picked up one of the photos, his fingers clenching the paper slightly. Jessica Watson had the same wide, wet, expressive eyes as Emily, though in the photo they were partly swollen from a bruise. Why did she keep withdrawing the charges? It's a classic pattern in domestic abuse cases, Sarah explained, pulling more documents from the folder. Threats, financial dependency, psychological manipulation, but in Kane's case, it goes further. She spread more papers on the table. He has powerful connections within the local police. Several of these complaints simply vanished from the official records. If I didn't have contacts in the police internal affairs department, we wouldn't have half of this. Michael's phone rang, interrupting the analysis of the documents. It was Margaret, the night nanny he had hired to help with the children. Mr. Chen. Her voice sounded tense. Emily's having another nightmare, a bad one. She's calling for you. Michael was already on his feet before he even ended the call. Keep investigating, Sarah. I want every detail about this man, where he grew up, where he studied, every traffic ticket, every overdue bill. People like him always leave a trail. And about your own adoption records, Sarah asked, referring to the request Michael had made days earlier. Should I keep pursuing that lead as well? Michael paused in the doorway, a thoughtful expression on his face. Yes, I can't explain it, but ever since I found these children, I feel there's something bigger going on. Keep looking. At the hotel, Emily's screams could be heard as soon as Michael stepped out of the elevator. His heart clenched. It was the worst nightmare yet. No, Daddy! Stop! Mommy! No! Her voice was sheer terror. Michael entered the room just in time to see Emily thrashing in bed, tears streaming down her face, while Margaret tried unsuccessfully to soothe her. Emily, sweetheart, wake up, he called softly, sitting on the edge of the bed. It's just a bad dream. You're safe. Her eyes opened, disoriented, and filled with fear for a moment before they focused on Michael. Instantly, she threw herself into his arms, sobbing violently. He was hurting Mommy again, she whimpered against his chest. Just like that night, there was so much blood. Michael held her protectively, gesturing for Margaret to check on the twins, who were miraculously still sleeping. His heart ached to think of what this child had witnessed in her few years of life. Do you want to tell me about the dream? He asked gently, stroking her hair. Emily clung to him tighter, as if afraid he might disappear. It was just like that night. Daddy came home yelling, breaking everything. It smelled like alcohol. Mommy told me to hide in the closet with the babies, but I could hear everything. She sniffled, her voice getting smaller. He kept yelling that he would find us, no matter where Mommy hid us. Michael felt a surge of anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice calm. Emily, look at me. He waited until her frightened eyes met his. Your dad will never hurt you, your brothers or your mom again. Do you know why? Emily shook her head. Because now you have me. And I promise I'll protect you no matter what. But you don't know my daddy, Emily whispered, fear evident in her voice. He's really strong and really mean. And I'm really powerful, Michael replied with a small smile. More than he'll ever be. One of the twins, Lucas, Michael suspected, though he still found it hard to tell them apart, started whimpering in the crib. Emily immediately tried to get up to go to him, but Michael gently held her back. Let me take care of him now, he said. You need someone to take care of you too, you know? Emily looked at him, confused. Michael smiled softly. Emily, he began, choosing his words carefully, there's someone very special I want you to meet tomorrow. Dr. Sophia. She helps kids understand their feelings and their bad dreams. She's a doctor. A special kind of doctor. She helps us feel better up here. He lightly touched her forehead, and here he touched her heart. Emily considered the idea for a moment, biting her lower lip in a way that reminded Michael of her mother in the photos Sarah had shown him. Will you stay with me? The whole time, if you want. While calming Lucas, Michael watched Emily finally relax a little. Margaret had brought a cup of warm milk with honey, a technique that had been working well for the past few nights. Mr. Michael, Emily called after a few sips, her voice already a bit sleepy. Yes. Why are some people bad? Why couldn't my daddy be good like you? The question hit Michael like a punch to the gut. How do you explain the complexity of evil to a 5-year-old? Some people, he began carefully, carry so much anger and pain inside that they end up hurting those around them. That has nothing to do with you or your brothers or your mom. Your dad's cruelty is his own problem, not yours. Emily seemed to process this as she finished her milk, but Mommy always said it was her fault when he got mad. Your mom was wrong, Michael said firmly. Nothing your dad did is her fault, or yours. You're victims not to blame. After Emily finally went back to sleep, Michael found Sarah in the suite's living room. She was surrounded by laptops and documents, working tirelessly. How is she? Sarah asked, without taking her eyes off the screen. The nightmares are getting worse, Michael replied, pouring himself a cup of coffee that was likely cold. But Dr. Sophia starts tomorrow. She's the best child therapist in the city. Sir, Sarah said, her tone shifting. I found something about Jessica. Michael quickly approached the table. What is it? I managed to track her. She's living under the name Jennifer Williams in a small town called Pine Grove, about 3 hours from here. She works as a waitress at a local diner called the Bluebird Diner. Michael picked up the photo Sarah had obtained from a security camera. Jennifer was wearing a light blue uniform, her hair in a ponytail. She looked exhausted, but her eyes, Emily's eyes, still held that characteristic determination. There's more, Sarah continued, her voice tense. Robert Kane was seen in Pine Grove 3 days ago. Michael felt his blood run cold. Did he find her? We're not sure, but we discovered something disturbing about the orphanage. Sarah opened more files on her laptop. Kane has been making regular calls to St. Catherine's in the last few months, and those families who were supposed to adopt the twins, they're fake. Everything indicates he was behind the plan to separate them. He was going to use the babies to force Jessica to come back, Michael concluded, anger evident in his voice. Exactly. And from what we found in the orphanage's financial records, this isn't the first time they've been involved in such schemes. Michael began pacing around the room, his mind working quickly. Increase security at the hotel. I want the best guards at 24/7. No one in or out without express permission. He paused, looking out the window at the city lights below. And prepare a complete dossier on Kane, every detail of his life, every weakness we can exploit. I'm already on it, Sarah nodded. What about Jessica? I'm going to find her tomorrow. And Emily? Are we going to tell her? Almost answering the question, a small sound came from the bedroom door. Emily stood there in her unicorn pajamas, hugging her teddy bear. You found Mommy. Her voice was small, filled with both hope and fear. Michael approached her, kneeling to look into her eyes. Yes, sweetheart, we found your mom. She's safe, in a place your dad can't find her. Emily bit her lip, a clear battle of emotions on her little face. Does she want to see us? I'm going to find out, Michael promised. I'm going to see her tomorrow. Can I go too? Michael exchanged a glance with Sarah before answering. I think it's better if I go first, alone. I need to make sure it's safe and that your dad isn't around. Is that okay? Emily nodded slowly, but there was worry in her eyes. Mr. Michael, what if she doesn't want us anymore? Michael felt his heart break. He pulled Emily into a tight hug, trying to convey all the reassurance he could. Emily, listen carefully. Your mom loves you and your brothers more than anything. She only left to protect you, and now, he pulled back a bit to look into her eyes, now you have me too. No matter what happens, you'll never be alone again. The next morning, as Michael prepared to drive to Pine Grove, Emily surprised him with a drawing. It's for you to give to Mommy, she explained, showing the paper where she had drawn 5 stick figures. Herself, the twins, Jessica, and, surprisingly, Michael. It's our family, she said simply, making Michael's heart skip a beat. He carefully placed the drawing inside his jacket, close to his heart, feeling the weight of the responsibility he had taken on. His phone rang. It was Dr. Sophia after Emily's first session. Mr. Chen, Emily is an incredibly resilient child, but she carries significant trauma. She'll need consistent support and a lot of love to process everything she's been through. She'll have all the support she needs, Michael assured her. How is she now? Playing with her brothers. She has an extraordinary bond with the twins. But Mr. Chen, the doctor hesitated. Emily told me about her worries regarding the meeting with her mother. She's afraid her mom might think she wasn't strong enough because she ran away from the orphanage. Michael frowned. But she was incredibly brave. Yes, but in the mind of a 5-year-old, running away might seem like a failure, not a show of courage. She needs to hear from her mother that she did the right thing. As he drove along the highway toward Pine Grove, Michael received constant updates from his security team. Kane had been spotted in town, but his current whereabouts were unknown. The man seemed like a ghost, appearing and disappearing without leaving a trail. Sarah had put together a complete profile of him, a dishonorably discharged ex-military man with a history of violence dating back to his teens, connections to corrupt politicians and local criminals. A predator, hiding behind a facade of respectability, using his connections to always stay one step ahead of the law. But this time he messed with the wrong victim, Michael muttered to himself, gripping the steering wheel as he drove. Kane might have connections to corrupt local politicians, but Michael Chen had the power of one of the world's biggest tech companies at his disposal, and he was willing to use every penny, every resource, to protect Jessica and the kids. The afternoon sun was beginning to set when he saw the sign, "Welcome to Pine Grove, population 12,347. The small town looked like something out of a postcard, with tree-lined streets and well-preserved Victorian homes, the kind of place you wouldn't expect to find such intense drama unfolding. His phone rang one last time. Sarah again. "The Bluebird Diner is at the corner of Main Street and Cedar Avenue. Jessica, or rather Jennifer, starts her shift in an hour. And sir, our men confirmed Kane was at the Mountain View Hotel 2 days ago, but he left town this morning. For now, it seems safe. Maintain surveillance," Michael instructed. "And Sarah, thank you for everything." Parking his car a discreet distance from the diner, Michael took Emily's drawing out of his jacket. 5 stick figures, a family brought together by fate, and the courage of a 5-year-old girl. "It's time," he said to himself, sliding the drawing back into his pocket. In a few hours, he would be face to face with Jessica Watson, the woman who had risked everything to protect her children. What would she say when she found out her eldest daughter had inherited her same courage and determination? Michael couldn't explain the inexplicable connection he felt to this family, the almost magnetic pull that led him to stop on that icy road days ago. But as he walked toward the Bluebird Diner, one thing he knew for sure: his life would never be the same after this meeting. The bell above the Bluebird Diner's door jingled as Michael entered, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and apple pie filling his senses. It was a typical small-town establishment. Red stools at the counter, blue formica tables, and an old jukebox playing softly in the corner. At that hour of the afternoon, only a few patrons occupied the tables, mostly older folks enjoying their coffee break. Michael chose a table with a view of the kitchen and the counter, his heart beating faster than usual. Sarah had confirmed that Jessica, now Jennifer, would start her shift in a few minutes. He discreetly adjusted the small earpiece he used to stay in contact with his security team stationed around the town. "Perimeter secure, Mr. Chen," his head of security, Johnson, said clearly in his ear. No sign of Kane in the last 24 hours. An older waitress approached, her name tag reading Betty. "What'll it be, hon?" "Just coffee for now," Michael replied with a polite smile. "And Jennifer is working today." Betty's smile faltered for a moment. "Jen, yes, she should be here any minute." "Do you two know each other?" Before Michael could answer, the diner's back door opened, and Jessica Watson walked in, adjusting her blue apron. Even in her disguise as Jennifer Williams, darker hair, thick-framed glasses she clearly didn't need, she was unmistakable. Those same eyes as Emily's, that same way of biting her lower lip when worried. "Betty, sorry I'm late. The bus—" Jessica froze abruptly when she noticed Michael. Something in her eyes changed. Fear, recognition, panic. She knew Robert Kane too well not to sense when someone didn't belong, and the man in the impeccable suit definitely didn't belong here. "Jennifer," Betty called, "can you take table 3? I need to check the pies in the oven." For a moment, Michael thought Jessica might run. He saw the muscle in her throat tighten, her hands gripping the small order pad. But then she straightened her shoulders, the same determined gesture he'd seen Emily make, and walked over to his table. Good afternoon, sir. What can I get you? Her voice was controlled and professional, but her hands trembled slightly. Actually, Michael said softly, I came because of Emily. The pen slipped from Jessica's fingers, hitting the floor with a click that sounded deafening in the sudden silence between them. Her face went pale. I don't know what you're talking about, she whispered, bending down to pick up the pen. You must have me confused with someone else. Emily, Lucas, and Liam are safe, Michael continued in the same gentle tone. I found them 5 days ago, on a frozen road. Emily had run away from the orphanage with the twins when she found out they were going to be separated. Jessica staggered slightly, her hand searching for support on a nearby table. Michael resisted the urge to catch her. If Robert sent you, she began, her voice trembling. I have nothing to do with your ex-husband, Michael interrupted firmly. In fact, I have people watching him right now to make sure he doesn't get near you. Jessica studied him for long seconds, years of abuse teaching her to distrust any offer of help. Who are you? Michael Chen. I'm the CEO of Chen Technologies. He paused, seeing the recognition on her face. And for the past 5 days, I've been a sort of guardian to your children. My children, Jessica repeated, as if the words were physically and emotionally painful. They're okay. They're safe and well cared for, Michael assured her. Emily is an amazing girl, so brave and devoted to her brothers. The twins are getting stronger, though Lucas still wakes up earlier than Liam. A tear escaped behind Jessica's fake glasses. You really know them. Jennifer, Betty's voice called from the kitchen. The customers at table 6 are waiting. Jessica straightened up, quickly wiping her face. I have to work. I can't. My car is parked out back, Michael said quickly. As soon as your shift ends. Please, Emily made a drawing for you. The mention of a drawing seemed to hit Jessica like a punch in the stomach. She nodded almost imperceptibly before stepping away to tend to other tables. Over the next 4 hours, Michael stayed in the diner, occasionally ordering more coffee and a slice of the famous apple pie, watching Jessica work. There was a quiet dignity in how she moved between tables, refilling cups and chatting with regulars, carrying the weight of her pain without letting it show. Finally, at 8 p.m., her shift ended. Michael waited for her in the car, as they had agreed. When she appeared, she had changed out of her uniform into jeans and a simple blouse, her hair now loose around a young face etched with worry, well beyond her years. Can we go for a drive? Michael suggested. There's a park nearby. It's public. Well lit. Jessica nodded, getting into the car but staying as close to the door as possible. Michael respected her need for space, driving in silence to the small municipal park. They sat on a bench overlooking an empty playground, the street lamps casting long shadows on the well-kept lawn. For a few moments, neither spoke. How did you find them? Jessica finally asked in a near whisper. Michael recounted that night on the road, about Emily protecting her brothers from the cold, about the courage she showed in trusting him. As he spoke, he watched the emotions play across Jessica's face. Pride, pain, love, guilt. She's always been like that, Jessica said when Michael finished. So strong, so protective, even at such a young age. Her voice faltered. I never wanted to abandon them. You have to believe me, I had no choice. What happened, Jessica? She shivered at hearing her real name. She glanced around nervously before starting to speak. Robert wasn't always like this. In the beginning, he was charming, attentive, but after he lost his military job, he started drinking. And then... She took a deep breath, her hands clasping together in her lap. The first time he hit me, I was pregnant with Emily. I apologized for burning dinner. Michael felt his stomach turn. It wasn't your fault. I know that now. But back then, he was so good at making me believe I deserved it, that it was my fault, that I provoked him. Jessica wiped away a tear. I ran away 3 times before the twins were born. He always found me. His connections in the police and his friends, no matter where I went, he always tracked me down. Flashback. 6 months ago, the sound of breaking glass woke Emily in the middle of the night. Jessica, who was nursing Liam, froze at the heavy footsteps of Robert in the living room. Where are you, you witch? His voice was slurred with alcohol. You think you can make a fool of me? I saw you talking to that social worker today. Jessica moved quickly, placing Liam in the bassinet next to his sleeping brother. Emily, she whispered urgently. Remember our special plan? It's time, sweetie. Grab your backpack and go to the closet. Emily, just 5 years old but already trained for these situations, grabbed her small emergency backpack and ran to the hallway closet. Jessica quickly placed the twins in a padded laundry basket, a preparation she had made weeks before, and handed it to Emily. No matter what you hear, don't come out until I call, okay? Jessica kissed her daughter's forehead. I love you. Take care of your brothers. The bedroom door burst open before Jessica could reach the closet. Robert stood there, eyes red with alcohol and rage. Found you. Present. He almost killed me that night, Jessica continued, her voice distant. If the neighbors hadn't called the police, but even then, with all the evidence, he got out the next day. His connections, always his connections. That's when you decided to leave the kids at the orphanage, Michael said softly. Jessica nodded, tears now flowing freely down her face. He swore he'd make me pay, that he'd take the kids from me, hurt them to punish me. I couldn't risk it. The orphanage seemed like the only safe option while I tried to disappear, make him follow me and leave the kids alone. But he found out where they were. He always finds out, Jessica said bitterly. I heard he was planning something with the orphanage, that he'd use thugs to get the twins, but I couldn't find out when. I was going to go back, try to get them out before Emily saved them, Michael said gently. She's extraordinary, Jessica. Strong just like her mum. Jessica broke down, covering her face with her hands. Michael pulled Emily's drawing from his jacket pocket and offered it to her. She made this for you this morning. With trembling hands, Jessica took the paper. When she saw the 5 stick figures, herself, her 3 kids, and Michael, she began to cry harder. She included me, she sobbed, after everything I did after leaving them. You didn't abandon them, Michael said firmly. You protected them in the only way you could, but now you're not alone in this fight. Jessica raised her eyes, studying Michael's face. Why? Why are you doing all this for us? Michael thought for a moment, feeling that inexplicable pull he had felt since the first moment he saw this family. Because when I found Emily on that road, I saw something in her that reminded me of myself. The determination to protect family, even when the whole world seems against you. He paused. I was adopted as a child. I never knew my biological family. Maybe that's why... Do you want to see them? Jessica interrupted gently. Your kids. I can show you pictures. They're not babies in pictures anymore, Michael warned softly. The twins have grown a lot this past month. Jessica nodded, her hands shaking as she pulled out her old phone. Michael noticed the scratches on the screen, likely a reminder of some violent episode with Robert. As she looked at the recent photos Michael had taken of the children, her sobs subsided, replaced by small sounds of surprise and joy. Lucas still has that little swirl in his hair, she noted, smiling through tears, and Liam, he looks so strong now. Emily, her voice failed at the photo of her oldest daughter playing with the twins. She looks, happy. She is very loved, Michael assured her, but she misses you a lot. She has nightmares almost every night. Jessica closed her eyes tight. I want to see them. God, I want to see them so badly. But Robert is being monitored around the clock, Michael interrupted. I have the best lawyers preparing cases against him, private investigators gathering evidence of all his illegal activities. He's never going to hurt you again, Jessica. Not ever. You don't know Robert, Jessica said, fear evident in her voice. He has powerful people protecting him. Politicians, judges. And I have more power and resources than all of them combined, Michael replied with calm conviction. Your daughter told me something similar, that her dad was really strong and mean. You know what I told her? Jessica shook her head. That I'm far more powerful than he'll ever be. And it's true, Jessica. Robert Kane might have connections in a small town, might have a few corrupt cops and politicians in his pocket, but I run one of the biggest tech companies in the world. I have virtually unlimited resources and, more importantly, the law on my side." "Why?" Jessica asked again, her voice breaking. "Why do you care so much?" Michael looked at the starry sky for a moment before answering. "Sometimes the universe puts certain people in our path for a reason. When I found Emily on that road, holding her brothers in the cold, something inside me just knew I had to protect them, that they mattered." He smiled softly. "And now that I've met you, I'm certain I made the right choice that night." Jessica looked down at Emily's drawing in her hands, her fingers tracing the stick figures gently. "When can I see them?" she finally asked, her voice full of hope and fear. "Tomorrow," Michael answered without hesitation. "I have a secure hotel with private security 24/7. I can send a car for you after your shift. And Robert, my men confirm he left town this morning, but even so, we'll take every precaution. You're no longer alone in this, Jessica." She nodded slowly, carefully tucking the drawing into her bag. "You know, Mr. Chen, ever since I left my kids at that orphanage, I've replayed that moment 1,000 times in my head, wondering if there was another option, if I could have done something different." She paused, wiping away a tear. "But now, seeing how fate put them in your path, maybe everything really does happen for a reason." Michael stood up, offering his hand to help her. "Let's take it one step at a time. First, the reunion with your children. Then we'll make sure Robert never comes near you again." As they walked back to the car, Jessica stopped suddenly. "Mr. Chen, thank you. Not just for taking care of my kids, but for giving me hope again." Michael smiled, feeling that inexplicable connection stronger than ever. "Tomorrow at 6 in the evening, a black car will be waiting behind the diner." Watching Jessica enter her small apartment a few minutes later, Michael called Sarah. "Prepare everything for tomorrow. I want reinforced security at the hotel and keep our men tracking Kane. We can't risk any surprises." "Yes, sir, and about your other investigation." "Regarding your own adoption." Michael hesitated for a moment, that strange sense of connection with this family still resonating in his chest. "Keep looking, Sarah. Something tells me there's more to this story than we can imagine." The late afternoon sun cast golden rays through the windows of the presidential suite at the Grand Alpine Resort, creating patterns of light on the carpet, where Emily was absent-mindedly playing with her building blocks. Although she tried to appear focused on her construction, her eyes kept darting to the door at every little noise. Michael watched from the couch, holding Lucas while Liam slept peacefully in his crib. The tension in the air was almost palpable. Emily had spent the whole morning alternating between bursts of nervous energy and moments of quiet reflection. "Mr. Michael," she called for the 10th time in the past 15 minutes. "What time is it?" 5:40, he answered patiently. "She'll be here in 20 minutes. Emily put down her blocks and began fussing with her new dress, a light blue one with little butterflies, chosen especially for the occasion. "What if," she began, then stopped, biting her lip just like her mother did. "What if what, sweetheart? What if she doesn't like us anymore?" Emily's voice was so quiet it was almost a whisper. Michael gently placed Lucas in the other crib and approached Emily, kneeling to meet her eye to eye. "Emily, remember what we talked about with Dr. Sophia, about complicated feelings?" The girl nodded. "That sometimes we can feel lots of different things at the same time, and that's okay." "Exactly. And your mom, she loves you very much. That's why she did what she did, to protect you." "From Daddy," Emily added, a tremor in her voice. "Yes. And now she's coming back because it's finally safe." Michael's phone buzzed, a message from his security team. The car with Jessica had just pulled into the hotel parking lot. "Emily," he said softly, "she's on her way up. Are you ready?" The girl glanced at her sleeping brothers, then at her own small hands, twisting nervously. "Can I hold your hand?" "Of course you can." The next few minutes felt endless. Emily squeezed Michael's hand tighter with every sound of footsteps in the hallway. Finally, there was a soft knock at the door. Michael felt Emily freeze beside him. "Do you want me to open it?" She nodded, unable to speak. When the door opened, revealing Jessica, now without the fake glasses, her hair back to its natural color, time seemed to stand still, Mother and daughter stared at each other in charged silence. "Mommy," Emily's voice trembled. Jessica dropped to her knees, tears already streaming down her face. "My love." For a moment, no one moved. Then, like a dam breaking, Emily let go of Michael's hand and ran into her mother's arms. "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy," she repeated through sobs, her little arms clinging tightly to Jessica's neck. "Forgive me, my love," Jessica cried, covering her daughter's face with kisses. "Forgive me for leaving. I love you so much, so much." Michael stepped back discreetly, giving them space. But then Emily suddenly pulled away from her mother's arms. "You promised," she shouted, her voice carrying a surprising anger. "You promised you'd come back soon. Pinky promise." Jessica swallowed a sob. "I know, my love. I know. I was so scared," Emily continued, tears of anger mingling with tears of joy. "The babies cried at night and I didn't know what to do, and Mrs. Peterson was mean, and they were going to take my brothers away." "Emily," Michael called gently, worried about the intensity of her outburst, but Jessica raised a hand, silencing him. "No, she needs this. She needs to let it out." "I had to be strong," Emily sobbed. "I had to take care of them all by myself. Why didn't you come back sooner?" "Because your dad was looking for me," Jessica answered honestly, following Dr. Sophia's advice to be open with Emily. "He wanted to hurt us, so I had to make him chase only me, away from you. But I thought about you every minute, every second." A soft cry interrupted. The twins were awake. Jessica froze upon hearing them, her eyes filling with fresh tears. "Want to meet your brothers again?" Emily asked, her anger already subsiding. She took her mother's hand, leading her to the cribs. "Lucas always wakes up first. He's more restless. Liam is sleepier." Jessica approached the cribs as if in a trance. The babies, now almost 2 months old, had changed so much since she last saw them. Can I hold them?" "Of course you can. Mommy, they're your babies." With trembling hands, Jessica picked up Lucas first. The baby, who often cried with strangers, instantly settled in her arms. "He recognizes you," Emily said in awe. "I talk to them about you every day. Showed them the photo in my locket." Jessica touched the small heart-shaped pendant around Emily's neck, the last gift she had given her daughter before leaving. "You're amazing. You know that," she said, kissing her daughter's forehead. "So strong, so brave. You took such good care of your brothers." "Mister, Michael helped take care of us too," Emily added, looking gratefully at Michael, who stood at a respectful distance. "He saved us from the cold, gave us food and warm clothes, and promised he would find you." Jessica looked up at Michael, her gratitude too big for words. "Thank you," she managed to whisper. Michael just smiled. That inexplicable connection stronger than ever. There was something about the way Jessica smiled, how her eyes shone at the sight of her children that stirred deeply buried memories in his subconscious. Liam began to fuss in his crib, not wanting to miss out on the attention. "He's hungry," Emily informed with the authority of a big sister. "It's a different cry than the sleepy one." Jessica laughed through her tears. "You really do know all their different cries, huh?" "I had to learn," Emily replied, a shadow briefly crossing her face. But then she smiled brightly. "Want to see the room Mr. Michael made for us? It has stars on the ceiling that glow at night." As Emily showed her mother around the suite, proudly pointing out every detail, Michael watched the transformation in Jessica. The frightened woman he'd found in the diner was slowly giving way to the mother she had always been, strong, loving, determined. The twins, now back in their mother's arms, looked calmer than Michael had ever seen them. It was as if, even at such a young age, they knew they were finally safe. "Mommy," Emily asked after a while, her voice hesitant, Are you going to stay with us now?" Jessica looked at Michael, who nodded almost imperceptibly. "Yes, my love. I'm never leaving you again." "Pinky promise." Emily linked her pinky with her mother's, a smile lighting up her face. "Pinky promise." Michael discreetly wiped away a tear that threatened to fall. Seeing this family reconnect, healing deep wounds with love and forgiveness, stirred something fundamental in him. It was as if a part of him that had always felt incomplete finally started to make sense. His phone vibrated. Another message from Sarah. Found something in the adoption records. We need to talk, urgently. Michael slipped the phone back without replying. Whatever Sarah had discovered could wait. This moment, this sacred reunion of mother and children, deserved to be experienced without interruption. Mr. Michael, Emily's voice pulled him back to the present. Come see, Mommy's going to sing our lullaby. Joining the family, Michael felt a peace he'd never known before. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, more revelations, more battles to fight. But in that instant, in that hotel suite turned sanctuary by a family's love, everything was exactly as it should be. Morning had barely broken when Sarah Martinez walked into Michael Chen's private office at the Grand Alpine Resort. Her normally composed face wore an expression he had never seen before, a mixture of shock, emotion, and apprehension. I found it, she said simply, placing a folder on the desk. And Michael, you need to sit down for this. Michael, who had spent the night reviewing documents about Robert Kane, looked up. Sarah never called him by his first name, always Mr. Chen or Sir. The change in her usual protocol was the first sign that something extraordinary had happened. My adoption records, Sarah nodded, opening the folder with near reverence. It was difficult. Many files were deliberately hidden, some destroyed, but I reconstructed the story through hospital records, birth certificates, and... She hesitated. Records from St. Catherine's Orphanage. Michael felt his heart skip a beat. The same orphanage? It's no coincidence, Michael. None of this is coincidence. With hands that suddenly felt too heavy, Michael took the first document Sarah offered, an old birth certificate, yellowed with age. Marie Anderson, Sarah explained, pointing to the name on the certificate. Your biological mother. She had 2 children, a boy in 1992, you, and a girl in 1995. The world seemed to stop spinning for a moment. The girl, Michael whispered, though he already knew the answer. Jessica Anderson, later Jessica Watson. Sarah pulled out another document. You were separated when you were 5, and she was 2. Your mother. Sarah hesitated again. She was in a car accident. Fatal. Michael stood up abruptly, walking to the window. Outside, the sun was rising over New York, oblivious to the emotional earthquake happening inside that room. How did we not discover this before? The records were tampered with, Sarah explained. When the children entered the foster system, someone deliberately separated their files, changed names, dates, erased connections. It took me weeks to piece it all together. Why? Why would someone do this? I'm still investigating, but... Sarah checked her notes. It seems there was an unofficial policy at the time. Siblings were often separated to increase their chances of adoption, especially when there was interest from influential families. Michael closed his eyes, fragmented memories surfacing. A little girl with dark hair laughing, the smell of freshly baked cookies, a lullaby. I remember her, he murmured. Not clearly, but I remember a little girl. I called her Jessie. Flashback, 30 years ago. Mickey, look. The 2-year-old girl ran clumsily across the small yard, chasing a butterfly. Her older brother followed closely, always protective. Be careful, Jessie, don't fall. Marie Anderson watched her children from the kitchen window, a tired smile on her face. Life wasn't easy for a single mother, but the love between her kids kept her going. Mickey, Jessie called, lifting her arms to her brother. Sing. Michael picked up his sister as he did every night. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, she turned present. The song? Michael said abruptly. Emily, she sings the same song to the twins, the same one Jessica sang last night. Sarah smiled softly. Some things run in the blood, I guess. Michael returned to his chair, his legs suddenly too weak to hold him. She's my sister. Jessica is my sister. And Emily and the twins are your niece and nephews, Sarah gently added. That's why. Michael trailed off, pieces in his mind clicking into place like a complicated puzzle, finally forming a clear picture. That's why I felt that instant connection with Emily. That's why I couldn't ignore that family on the road. It was blood calling. Do you want me to call her? Jessica is still at the hotel with the kids. Michael nodded slowly. But first, show me everything. Every document, every detail. I need to understand our story. For the next hour, Sarah laid out her meticulous investigation. The story that emerged was heartbreaking. Marie Anderson, a young single mother struggling to raise two small children. The fatal car accident on a rainy night. The children suddenly orphaned, separated by a cold bureaucracy that saw no value in keeping siblings together. The Chens adopted me almost immediately, Michael reflected. And Jessica, she stayed in the system longer. Adopted at 5 by the Miller family, but Sarah checked her notes. That adoption failed. She went back into foster care, changed families several times until she was 16 when she set out on her own. And I had no idea. I built an empire. I have more money than I could spend in 10 lifetimes, and my own sister was suffering just a few miles away. You couldn't have known, Sarah said softly. The records were deliberately obscured. But now, a soft knock on the door interrupted them. Jessica entered, still wearing the hotel robe. Sarah said it was urgent. She stopped upon seeing Michael's expression. What happened? Is it Robert? Did he... No, Michael interrupted, standing up. Please, sit. There's something you need to see. With infinite care, he began telling her the story, showing her the documents one by one. He watched the emotions sweep across his sister's face. Confusion, shock, disbelief, and finally recognition. Mickey, she whispered, using the childhood nickname that had lain buried in her deepest memories for decades. Michael felt tears roll down his cheeks. Hi, Jessie. The hug that followed was 30 years overdue, but no less powerful. Brother and sister clung to each other, decades of loss and loneliness dissolving into tears of recognition and rediscovered love. I remembered a boy, Jessica sobbed against her brother's shoulder. In my oldest memories, there was a boy who protected me, who sang to me. But the social workers said those were just dreams, that I was an only child. They deliberately separated us, Michael explained, his voice thick with emotion. Erased records, changed documents. But now we're together again. Emily! Jessica pulled away suddenly. She needs to know. She has an uncle. An uncle who saved her before he even knew who she was. As if summoned by the mention of her name, the door opened again and Emily walked in, still in her pajamas, hugging her teddy bear. Mommy, Mr. Michael, why are you crying? Michael and Jessica looked at each other, a silent understanding passing between them. Jessica opened her arms to her daughter. Come here, my love. We have an amazing story to tell you. Emily approached curiously, climbing onto her mother's lap. What story? A story about two little siblings, Jessica began, her voice trembling, who got separated a long time ago, but fate decided to bring them back together. Like me and the twins? Emily asked innocently. Not exactly. Michael knelt to look her in the eye. Emily, your mom is my sister. I'm your uncle. Emily's eyes grew comically wide. Uncle? Like in stories. Exactly like that, Michael smiled through tears. That's why, when I saw you on that road with the twins, I felt something special. It was my heart recognizing my family, even though my head didn't know yet. Emily looked from Michael to Jessica and back again, processing the information. Then, with the simplicity of a child, she grinned. So that's why you knew our song, the Little Star Song. Jessica let out an emotional laugh. Yes, my love. Your Uncle Mickey used to sing that song to me when we were little. Mickey? Emily giggled at the nickname, making the adults laugh too. The sound of the twins crying in the next room interrupted the moment. Emily jumped off her mother's lap. Come on, Uncle Mickey, let's see the babies. Now you're their uncle too. As they followed Emily into the other room, Michael and Jessica exchanged emotional looks. There was so much to process, so much to learn about each other, so many lost years to make up for. But now they had time, and most importantly, they had each other. The following days were a roller coaster of emotions. Michael insisted that Jessica and the children move permanently to the hotel while he arranged a safe house for everyone. His legal team worked tirelessly on the cases against Robert Kane, building a solid argument that would finally keep him away from the family. Emily thrived with her mother's presence and the discovery of an uncle, her sessions with Dr. Sophia now included genuine moments of joy, not just trauma processing. The nightmares, while still present, were less frequent. "Uncle Mickey," she called one night, while everyone was gathered in the suite's living room after dinner. "Tell me again what you and Mummy were like when you were little." Michael smiled, adjusting Lucas in his arms while Jessica fed Liam. "Well, your mum was just like you. Brave, protective, always taking care of everyone. And your uncle," Jessica added, "was the best big brother in the whole world. He always defended me, always looked out for me." "Just like me with the twins," Emily declared proudly. "Exactly like that," Michael agreed, feeling his heart overflow with love for this family that fate had returned to him in such an extraordinary way. Sarah, watching from the doorway, smiled discreetly. Her work as an investigator had revealed many stories over the years, but none as special as this. Seeing Michael Chen, the powerful CEO always so in control, melt around his niece and nephews, laughing with his rediscovered sister, was a remarkable transformation. "Sarah," Michael called, noticing her, "join us. You're part of this family now too." As Sarah joined the group, Michael looked around the room, his sister, his niece, his nephews, his family. Words that, a week ago, would have seemed impossible were now his most precious reality. "Family," he murmured to himself, savoring the word. After 30 years of a solitude disguised as success, he was finally complete. And as Emily began to sing "Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star," first alone and then joined by her mother and uncle, the circle that had been broken so long ago was finally made whole. The lullaby that had survived in their deepest memories echoed once again, cradling a new generation and uniting past and present in a melody of love and hope. The meeting room on the top floor of Chen Technologies was not just packed, it was buzzing with electricity. Lawyers from the country's most prestigious firms, federal investigators, security experts, and financial analysts filled every inch of the space. Silence reigned as Michael Chen, abandoning his usual laid-back tech CEO stance, stood before a projection screen showing Robert Kane's face. "For years," Michael began, his voice carrying an intensity few here had ever witnessed, "this man terrorized my sister and her children. He used corrupt connections to escape justice. He manipulated the system to keep his victims under control." He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. "That ends today." Sarah Martinez, now officially promoted to Director of Special Investigations at Chen Technologies, rose with her tablet. The lights dimmed as she started her presentation. "Over the last 3 months, we've built not only a case against Kane, but have mapped his entire network of influence and corruption." Charts and photos began to appear on screen. 17 domestic violence charges mysteriously shelved, 23 police officers receiving irregular payments, 5 judges with suspicious rulings, 3 social service workers involved in illegal adoption schemes. James Morrison, the federal prosecutor, nodded gravely. "It's much bigger than we initially imagined. Kane isn't just a domestic abuser. He's a key piece in a corruption network that spans the entire state. Which is why," Michael continued, "we're not only prosecuting him for domestic violence, we're dismantling the entire system that's protected him for so long." The meeting lasted for hours, every aspect of the case discussed in detail. Michael had mobilized resources that would make small nations feel poor, all to ensure his family never again had to live in fear. As the professionals debated strategies, his phone vibrated with a message from Jessica. "Emily taught the twins to say uncle today. Well, something that sounds like uncle. You have to see it." Attached was a video of the twins, now almost 5 months old, making noises that really did resemble uncle while Emily clapped enthusiastically. The contrast between the tension in the meeting room and the sweetness of that family moment made Michael smile. "Is there a problem, Mr. Chen?" Morrison asked, noticing his expression soften. "On the contrary," Michael replied, putting the phone away. "Just a reminder of why we're doing all this." 2 weeks later, the operation was launched. In a coordinated action involving the FBI, federal police and state authorities, Robert Kane's entire network was exposed and dismantled. The front page of the New York Times was just the tip of the iceberg. "Corrupt businessman arrested in federal operation, organized crime network dismantled." Flashback. 6 months earlier, Jessica shivered in her tiny Pine Grove apartment, clutching her old cell phone to her chest. Another threatening call from Robert. "I'll find you and the kids," he had said, his voice slurred with alcohol. "Doesn't matter where you hide. I have friends everywhere." That night, she barely slept, every noise making her jump. Present in the Chen mansion, Jessica woke with a start, an old nightmare clawing at her consciousness. But instead of the terrifying silence of her former apartment, she heard the sound of children laughing in the garden. Approaching the window, she saw Emily helping Michael push the twins in their specially designed jogging strollers. Her brother, always so formal and in control in the corporate world, had his sleeves rolled up, hair tousled, laughing like a child. "Faster, Uncle Mickey!" Emily shouted, running beside the strollers. "They love it when you go faster." "Nightmare." Dr. Torres's gentle voice came from the door. Jessica wasn't surprised. Her therapy sessions usually started around this time. "Memory," Jessica corrected, turning to her therapist. "But this time was different. I woke up and reality was better than the dream." Her sessions with Dr. Torres had become a fundamental pillar in Jessica's healing. The cozy office, set up in one wing of the mansion, was a safe space where she could finally process years of trauma. "How has this week been?" the doctor asked as they settled into comfortable chairs. Jessica pondered the question, her eyes drifting to the garden where her family played. "Yesterday," she began, "Emily spilled a glass of milk on the living room rug, and I—" She paused, tears beginning to form. "What happened?" She got so scared. For a moment, I saw my own fear in her eyes. "With Robert, an accident like that would mean—" She shuddered. But Michael just laughed. He said it was a great chance to teach the twins about accidents and cleaning up your own mess. He turned it into an educational game. "And how did that make you feel?" "Free," Jessica whispered, like another chain had broken. Emily laughed so hard trying to clean the rug with the twins, helping. It was beautiful to see her just being a child, unafraid. The Chen mansion had become not just a home, but a sanctuary of healing for the entire family. What was once a monument to wealth and corporate success now pulsed with life and love. The old formal dining room, with a massive table seating 20, had been replaced by a cozier space. A new round table, specially crafted by a local artisan, had seats for 8, the core family and the regular extras like Sarah and Dr. Torres. The kitchen, once a showroom of high-tech appliances rarely used, now was the heart of the house. Michael hired a chef who not only prepared meals, but also taught Emily how to make cookies and cupcakes, always with the twins watching, clapping their chubby little hands. "Uncle Mickey," Emily called one afternoon, covered in flour from head to toe. "I made special chocolate cookies for you." Michael Dees, who had just left a video conference with international investors, didn't hesitate to pick his niece up, even if it meant ruining his Italian suit. "These are the most special cookies in the world," he declared after tasting them, even though they were slightly burnt. Fit for the best 5-year-old chef on the planet. The children's rooms were completely transformed. Emily's, once a generic guest room, was now a fairy tale kingdom with hand-painted murals of a magical forest. Fluorescent stars on the ceiling formed actual constellations. Michael's idea to spark his niece's interest in science. The twins' room was a soft explosion of colors and textures, with furniture designed to stimulate their development. A discreet, state-of-the-art monitoring system let Jessica finally sleep peacefully, knowing her babies were safe. Michael's adaptation to family life surprised everyone, especially himself. The man who once lived for spreadsheets and meetings now organized his corporate schedule around family milestones. "Mr. Chen," his new executive assistant said one day, "the board is asking to postpone the 3 p.m. meeting to 4 p.m. "Impossible," Michael replied without hesitation. "It's the day of Emily's school presentation. She's reciting a poem she wrote about family." The news of Kane's arrest and the dismantling of his network brought a wave of relief to the family, but also new emotional challenges to process. "He'll never hurt us again?" Emily asked one night at dinner, surprising them all with her direct question. Michael and Jessica exchanged glances before he answered, "No, princess. He's in a high-security prison far away, And even when he gets out, there are laws and very powerful people making sure he can never come near you." "Like you?" Emily asked. "Like me? Like Aunt Sarah? Like all the friends helping us keep our family safe?" Spring arrived, bringing not just flowers and longer days, but also a special idea from Michael. On a particularly beautiful morning, he gathered the family for an announcement. "How about a special picnic?" The sparkle in his eyes told Jessica she already knew his intention. When the car stopped on that road, now transformed by spring into a corridor of wildflowers, the emotions ran high. "It's here," Emily whispered, recognizing the place where her life had changed forever just a few months ago. Michael had planned everything down to the smallest detail. An elegant canopy had been set up under the large tree, shielding them from the sun while giving a view of the flower-filled field. Colorful cushions and soft blankets created a cozy space perfect for a family afternoon. The twins, now much more active, crawled around the sheltered area, occasionally stopping to try grabbing a flower or chasing a butterfly. Emily, initially quiet upon recognizing the location, soon brightened up when she saw the toys and games Michael had brought. "Did you know this was where I first met Uncle Mickey?" she explained to her brothers as she tried to teach them how to make flower crowns. "I was so scared, but he showed up just like in fairy tales. And you," Michael hugged her from behind, "were the bravest princess I had ever seen." Jessica watched the scene with a heart overflowing with love and gratitude. In her arms, Liam played with her necklace, the same one that held the only photo she'd managed to save when she fled Robert, a picture of Emily as a baby. "What are you thinking about?" Michael asked, sitting down next to her. "Miracles," she answered softly. "How that terrible night when I ran with the kids, I thought everything was over. That we'd never have a chance to be happy." She paused, watching Emily try to teach Lucas to blow on a dandelion. "And now look at us." Michael took her free hand, squeezing gently. "You know what's even more amazing? How everything lined up. If I hadn't decided to take that shortcut on that specific night, destiny," Jessica completed. "Or maybe the love of a little sister for her big brother is strong enough to cross decades of separation." Laughter interrupted them. Emily had managed to make the twins giggle loudly by blowing soap bubbles at them. "Uncle Mickey," she called, running toward him with a crooked flower crown made with all the love in the world. "I made this for you. Now you're officially the king of our family." Michael lowered his head solemnly, allowing his niece to crown him. Jessica couldn't hold back her laughter at the sight of her powerful CEO brother wearing a crown of wild daisies. "No, little one," he corrected with a gentle smile. "There are no kings or subjects here. We're all equal, a family that loves each other very much." As the sun began its descent, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold, the Chen family gathered on the blanket for one last special moment. The twins, worn out from their adventures, dozed in the arms of their mom and uncle, while Emily, also sleepy, nestled between them. "Sing our song, Uncle Mickey," she asked in a drowsy voice. And there, in the same place where months earlier fate had brought a broken family together, 3 generations of the Chens joined in the same lullaby that had traveled through decades of separation. "Twinkle, twinkle, little star." Michael Chen, gazing at his family under a sky that was beginning to show its first stars, finally understood the true meaning of success. It wasn't in the awards decorating his office, the billions in his bank account, or the headlines praising his business achievements. Real success was there, in Emily's sleepy smile, in the comfortable weight of Lucas in his arms, in the peaceful look on his sister's face, in the promise of thousands of moments like this in the future. It was the certainty that his family, once torn apart by fate, was now complete and stronger than ever. "Shall we go home?" Jessica suggested, as the first star appeared in the sky. "We're already home," Michael replied, his voice filled with emotion. "Wherever we are together, that's our home." Emily, almost asleep, murmured, "Best family in the world." And as they packed up the remains of the picnic under the starry sky, Michael knew, with a certainty that came from the deepest part of his soul, that all his previous achievements had simply been preparing him for this moment. Every challenge overcome, every victory won had led him here. to this field of flowers where, on a winter's night, destiny had conspired to reunite a broken family. Jessica, settling the sleeping twins in their strollers, smiled at her brother, a smile carrying decades of lost love finally found. Emily, drowsy but happy, held one of their hands in each of hers, connecting past and present, pain and healing, separation and reunion. "Will we always be this happy?" she asked with a child's innocence. "We'll always be us," Michael answered, kissing the top of her head. "A family, no matter what." And under the same stars that had once witnessed so many nights of fear and loneliness, the Chen family walked together into their future, a future as bright as the stars in the lullaby that had kept them connected through time and distance.